support.
The maestro, please!
It is yet that time again at the end of the month where we talk about a pop song that's at the top of the chart. Today we'll be looking at a bar song, Tipsy, by Shaboozey.
Shaboozey.
Collins Shaboozey, better known as Shaboozey, which is really just a mispronunciation of his last name, himself being a Nigerian American, is a country artist that first started gaining prominence by a bunch of features on other artists' projects. However, for him himself, this is his first ever pop hit.
Background.
A bar song, Tipsy, was first released on April 12th of 2024, charting 2 weeks later at number 36, given it finally hit number 1 on July 13th. It was briefly displaced on the week of July 20th by a certain diss song, but got back to number 1 the following week. Finally, as of the beginning of August, it is still at number 1. There were 2 prominent remixes done of this song, one released on April 14th by Alesso, and then another one released a little over 2 months later by David Guetta. It is quite obvious, and actually in the parenthetical name itself, that it actually heavily interpolates. Everybody in this bitch get tips. The interpolation can actually be heard in various parts of the song, the first one being in the pre-chorus.
1, here comes the 2 to the 3 to the 4. Tell them bring another round, we need plenty more.
1, here comes the 2 to the 3 to the 4. Everybody drunk out on the dance floor.
The second and much more obvious one is in the chorus itself, though.
Everybody at the bar getting tips.
Everybody in this bitch get tips.
It's actually quite a heavy-handed interpolation. Again, it's even in the parenthetical title. Hell, they even both reference two-stepping.
2-stepping on the table, she don't need a dance floor.
2-step with me, 2-step with me.
Because it is such a heavy interpolation, both J-Kwon and Tarboy, aka Mark Williams of the Track Boys, are both credited. A bar song, Tipsy, is actually off of Shaboozey's third studio album, Where I've Been Isn't Where I'm Going, which was released at the end of May. The track is actually the 4th single from the album, the first 3 being... And finally,
Live my life like it was one big Vegas.
besides Shaboozey, credits on this song include both Sean Cook and Nevin. Sean Cook got his pop music start working as an engineer, having credits such as Wallows and Hozier. But as far as a producer and songwriter, though, he only has one additional pop credit, that being...
You my little boo thing, so I'll give a hoot what you do say, girl, I know you a little too tame.
As for Nevin Sastry, simply known as Nevin, as far as his pop credits go, Shaboozey with this song is his first. A bar song, Tipsy, is released jointly by American Dogwood, Magnolia, Empire, and Republic.
Form.
A bar song, Tipsy, is a country song, just under 3 minutes long, 4/4 time, A major, and 162 beats per minute, or 81 if you call it halftime. After the quick intro, we get the first verse,
My baby born a Birkin.
followed by the first pre-chorus,
1, here comes the 2 to the 3 to the 4.
obviously then the first chorus,
Someone pour me up a double shot of whiskey.
and then a post-chorus.
Everybody at the bar getting tips.
We then get the second verse,
I've been boozy since I left. I ain't changing for a check.
second pre-chorus,
2-stepping on the table, she don't need a dance floor.
second chorus,
They know me and Jay Dale's got a history.
and a second post-chorus,
Everybody at the bar getting tips.
before we finally get a bridge,
It's getting kinda late, but the ladies want some more.
a third chorus,
At the bottom of a bottle, don't miss me.
and even a third post-chorus,
Everybody at the bar getting tips.
before getting to the really quick outro, which ends the song.
Bar getting tipsy.
Guitar.
Pretty much the instrument that holds together the whole song as it plays throughout the entirety of the track. Doing the strumming pattern you see on the screen, it goes a bar of each F sharp minor 7, A major, and then D major, before doing a quick 2-beat A major, and then an E major over G sharp at the end. It pretty much does it for the entirety of the song, minus the bridge, where it does essentially play the same chords at the same harmonic rhythm, but it's no longer strumming them. Also note we don't get that A major and then E major over G sharp at the end. It simply ends on the D.
Bass.
The bass that we actually don't get until the chorus of the song first starts on that low F sharp, working it up to that A, before quickly jumping down to the A an octave lower, before going to the D, then going back up to that A and working its way down to the G sharp. The only alteration we get is actually in the second phrase. As you can see, it pretty much repeats that entire thing we just talked about, given at the end, instead of doing that G sharp, it waits a beat and then hits that low C sharp.
Fiddle.
Calling it a fiddle as opposed to a violin, because in this context, in a country song, it's a fiddle, despite the fact that a fiddle and a violin are the exact same thing. Regardless, starting off on that A on the staff before jumping up to the A above the staff, working its way down in the next bar to that F sharp with those E little bends it has, going back up to that A, and then dropping to the C sharp at the end. In the following phrase, we have it much lower on that F sharp on the staff before going up to the A, back to the F sharp, hanging on the E for a while, and then in the following bar going back to that F sharp, hitting that E, hitting that C sharp, and at the very end hitting that B A below the staff. There are some slight alterations throughout the song, but they're very minor, like in this one in the following section of the song. You see, pretty much it stays the same as that second phrase we just talked about, but you'll notice the last two bars holds on to that A a bit longer before jumping up to the B in the middle of the staff.
Verse.
Starting off on that first verse, you'll notice that a lot of his rhythms are going to be combinations of eighth notes and quarter notes, really not getting outside of that. He starts off on that low A before staying on that F sharp in that first subphrase, only ever getting as high as that A and ending on the E. In the following subphrase, he jumps up a lot higher, hitting up that high D before ultimately ending on the C sharp.
My baby born a Birkin. She's been telling me all night long.
The second phrase very much kind of fills things out. We don't have clear delineated subphrase like we did in the previous one with the rests. You'll notice though that his range still pretty much stays the same. Starting off on that low F sharp, doesn't get any lower besides the E right below it, and the highest he ever gets is the D.
Gasoline and groceries, the list goes on and on.
The second half of the first verse is actually quite identical to the first half of the first verse, given the words are different, so some of the rhythms are slightly changed.
It's 9 to 5, ain't working. Why the hell do I work so hard?
That being said, the back half of this phrase in particular is a little different than anything we talked about previously. You'll notice he goes much lower, hitting that low B and working his way up to the C sharp at the end.
I can't worry about my problems. I can't take them when I'm gone.
The second verse is quite different and half as long. You'll notice he focuses much more on eighth notes, and as far as the main vocals in this phrase, the range is just A to C sharp, given the backup vocals on Oh Lord do go as low as E.
I've been boozy since I left. I ain't changing for a check. Tell my mind I ain't forget.
Just like the first verse, though, this second phrase of the second verse is very similar to the first one, minus some changed words, an additional I at the very beginning, and now he himself says, "Oh Lord," as opposed to just the backup vocals.
Woke up drunk at 10 a.m. We gon' do this shit again. Tell your girl to bring a friend. Oh Lord.
Pre-chorus.
Just like the verses, the rhythms very much still focus on quarter notes and eighth notes with some syncopation as well. Notice though the line is much more up and down than just in one direction. Each subphrase goes up and then down. That first one going on F sharp, going up to C sharp, then down to E. The following one starting on C sharp, going up to the E an octave higher, and finally ending on the F sharp at the bottom of the staff.
1, here comes the 2 to the 3 to the 4. Tell them bring another round, we need plenty more.
In the following phrase, it's a bit more spaced out and still just eighth notes and quarter notes, not nearly as much syncopation. Also, you can see he generally works his way down. We start off on that C sharp and we end on that E. And notice the very big space we have in between oh my and good Lord.
Two-stepping on the table, she don't need a dance floor. Oh my. Good Lord.
Chorus.
Getting to the chorus, we see a lot of what we've seen earlier. These up and down motions, not that big of a range, only spanning the E octave, and again, mostly focusing on quarter notes and eighth notes.
Someone pour me up a double shot of whiskey. They know me and Jack Daniels got a history.
Similarly speaking, the second phrase of the chorus very closely related to the first, almost identical, minus changed rhythms for changed words.
There's a party downtown near 5th Street. Everybody at the bar getting tipsy.
We only ever get two changes to the chorus. The first one is these addition of ad-libs underneath the main vocal line, which can most clearly be heard in the chorus immediately after the bridge.
Someone pour me up a double shot of whiskey. They know me and Jack Daniels got a history.
You'll notice here the instrumental is actually dropped out entirely. I picked this section specifically because it was so easy to hear those ad-libs. The third chorus actually repeats twice, once that you're hearing now, and a second time with the actual full instrumental.
There's a party downtown near 5th Street. Everybody at the bar getting tipsy.
Speaking of that repeat, when it does repeat with the instrumental for this last time, there is one line that's changed here, given it's still the same rhythms and melodies and everything.
At the bottom of a bottle, don't miss me. Everybody at the bar getting tipsy.
Post-chorus.
Really all the post-chorus is simply repeating the last line of the chorus, given there is space in between when it repeats.
Everybody at the bar getting tipsy. Everybody at the bar getting tipsy.
Just like the chorus, the only change we ever get to the post-chorus is an additional ad-lib underneath.
Everybody at the bar getting tipsy. Everybody at the bar getting tipsy.
Bridge.
The bridge is actually just a variation of what was sung during the pre-chorus, given it's a bit more melodically up and down, especially because it opens with a melisma at the very beginning.
Here comes the 2 to the 3 to the 4. When it's last call and they kick us out the door.
It even also does the oh my good lord part that's spaced out, given good lord now goes up as opposed to down, and we do have an additional backing vocal at the end that ties us into the last chorus.
It's getting kinda late, but the ladies want some more. Oh my good lord. Tell them drink some.
Outro.
The outro is really just that one part at the very end about Shaboozey saying he got kicked out of the bar, but hey, still enough to be called its own section, I guess.
Bar getting tipsy.
I believe this song is just another example of this trend we've been seeing in country music as of late, arguably starting off with most notably Lil Nas X and Old Town Road, and very much being expanded upon in Beyonce's Cowboy Carter album. Oddly enough, Shaboozey is featured on that album twice. It's really going to show that country and hip-hop really aren't that far apart, especially considering they both have roots in blues music. Obviously, this is a country song, and it's always going to be a country song, but it's a country song that's actually based off of a hip-hop song. It's actually kind of funny to think about. If you went back even just a few years ago and went up to a die-hard country fan and told them, hey, I got this honest-to-God country song that's based off of J-Kwon's Tipsy, they'd probably go something like,
oh my good lord. Someone pour me up a double shot of whiskey. They know me and Jack Daniels got a history. There's a party downtown near 5th Street. Everybody at the bar getting tipsy.
huh. I actually wonder.
Today's gonna be the day that they're gonna throw it back to you. By now you should have somehow realized what you gotta do. I don't believe that anybody feels the way I do about you now.
I mean, come on, that works.
Everybody at the bar